I wake up and something's off. Not the kind of off where you forgot to take out the trash, but the kind that makes your spine stiffen before your eyes even open. My room is dead silent. No hum. No buzz. No software from the oxygen concentrator that's basically my roommate these days. That silence? It's not peaceful. It's horror movie silence. The kind that shows up right before someone dies, and if I don't get air soon, that someone might be me. I sit up, chest already clenched like a fist. This isn't just my usual wheeze. This is a red alert, fire drill, emergency level kind of tightness. Okay, Mike, don't panic. I whisper, even though my breath's already thin. It's probably just a breaker, or maybe a squirrel with a death wish. Wishful thinking, but hey, it beats reality. I drag myself to the hallway, every step like wading through concrete, and check the breaker box. Nothing tripped. All the switches are solid. That's when I catch movement outside my window. And let me tell you, that's when everything clicks. The silence, the lack of power, the tightening in my chest. It's her. Karen, queen of the Rosewood Lane HOA. Mid-50s, permanent visor. Death grip on her clipboard like it contains the Magna Carta of suburban dictatorship. And in her other hand, a pair of bolt cutters, shiny, heavy-duty, and aimed square at my power meter. My lifeline. I slam on the window, more like a wheezy tap, and yell, Karen. It comes out more like a gasp with a name attached. She looks up, calm as a saint on Sunday. Good morning, Mr. Henderson, she calls out with the smug sweetness of someone about to do something real dumb with a lot of confidence. Just addressing a minor infraction. Oh, what now? She gestures with those cutters toward my lawn gnome, Bartholomew. Says he's encroaching on Mrs. Periwinkle's petunias by 3/4 of an inch. That's right. Not 3 feet. Not 3 inches. 3/4. And apparently, that's a felony in HOA terms. Karen, that's the power to my medical equipment. I choke out. I need that to breathe. She doesn't even blink. Just gives me that tight-lipped smile. Rules are rules, Mr. Henderson. Decorative violations can result in temporary suspension of amenities. Besides, your machine's hum has been deemed orally offensive by multiple neighbors. And then, snip, just like that, the little blinking light on my oxygen unit winks out. Gone. My heart drops into my shoes. She turns and walks away, stuffing the cutters back in her fanny pack like some kind of villain in a retirement home action movie. I grab my backup oxygen tank, my in case of apocalypse plan. Heavy as hell, but blessedly full. Call 911. Try to explain between gasps that my HOA president just committed medical sabotage. The dispatcher sounds like they've heard all, but not this. Not oxygen cutting over known placement. We'll send someone to take a report, she says. But power issues usually go through the utility company. Great. So I might be dead before the paperwork clears. But then, as the fog clears a little, I remember something. Buried deep in the HOA bylaws is a vague clause about temporary essential equipment for emergencies. Karen loves her rules? Fine. I'll use the whole damn rulebook against her. I call my doctor first. Dr. Ramirez, absolute angel in scrubs, walks me through extending the tank's life. Then I call Gus. Gus runs Big Mike's generators. Tagline, when you absolutely, positively gotta have a juice. And I tell him I need juice. A lot of it. I got just the thing, Gus growls over the phone. Fortiton diesel monster. Ran backup for a hospital. Loud as hell. Drinks fuel like it's going out of style. Perfect. Within the hour, Gus rolls up with the beast. Big, yellow, and thundering like a freight train. Neighbors peek out of blinds. Karen? She's pruning her roses like nothing's wrong. Until she hears that rumble. When she sees the generator, her jaw drops so fast, I thought it might dislocate. You wave, goose over. Park it right there. I say, pointing to the edge of my lawn, the part that technically borders her prized petunias. Wouldn't want to mess with the aesthetic, right? Bertha, that's what I named the generator, is a thing of beauty. When it roars to life, my oxygen unit gives a happy little whir and starts breathing for me again. Sweet, sweet air. I almost cry. Karen, meanwhile, goes full banshee. Storms over screaming about noise ordinances, property values, traumatized hydrangeas. I just smile and hand her the HOA rulebook, flip to Section F. Paragraph 3. You cut my power. This is an emergency, and this is temporary necessary equipment. Her face turns a shade of purple, usually reserved for cartoons. Then come the cops. Karen called them, hoping to shut me down. But when I show them the doorbell footage, her snipping my line like she's pruning a hedge, and explain the whole thing, they're not on her side. One officer actually laughs when I mention the gnome being excessively whimsical. The other says, "Ma'am, you can't just cut someone's power. That's a felony." Karen starts to unravel right there on the lawn. And then the cavalry arrives, Chloe from Electric Eagles. Pink streaks in her hair, tool belt, attitude for days. She sees the generator, sees me on oxygen, sees Karen pacing like a hawk on espresso, and just nods. Okay, I'm gonna need coffee, and maybe hazard pay. While she rewires my mangle meter box, more neighbors come by. Mrs. Periwinkle, whose cat apparently hasn't napped since Bertha started up, comes to complain, but when I explain what Karen did, her whole demeanor changes. Turns out Karen also yelled at her wind chimes once for sounding haunted. "You carry on, young man," she says with a nod. "Your gnome's got more character than half this neighborhood." The next surprise? An official code inspector rolls up, clipboard and everything. Karen practically throws herself at him. "It's illegal. Shut it down." But Gus, bless him, presents a binder so thick it could double as a coffee table. Every permit, every certificate, all in order. The inspector nods once. Generator stays. "We'll be contacting the city attorney about the power cut." Karen? She looks like she just saw a ghost. By the next morning, the HOA is holding an emergency meeting in the park. Karen tries to rally the troops, screams about noise pollution, decorum, dignity. But Mr. Abernathy, who's 80 if he's a day, stands up and says, "Karen, you cut the man's life support over a damn lawn gnome." Mic drop. Susan, local lawyer and certified badass, reads out the actual bylaws and confirms Karen's stunt wasn't just against HOA rules. It was straight up illegal. The board looks like they've seen a ghost. Karen's forced to resign on the spot, face gray as concrete. Later that day, Chloe flips the final switch. The lights come back. The oxygen concentrator purrs. Gus gives me a handshake that could crush stone. Bertha rolls off into the sunset like a conquering hero. And Karen? She gets served. Literally. Some guy in a suit hands her papers on her porch, and she looks like she's about to faint. Justice, as it turns out, isn't just poetic. It's beautifully bureaucratic. A few weeks later, Karen's house goes up for sale. The sign is crooked, a good quarter-inch too close to the sidewalk. Oh, the irony. The HOA, now run by Susan, rewrites the rules. There's even a new clause, in bold, that says you cannot mess with a resident's power. Ever. Bartholomew the gnome is back in his spot, now rocking a tiny firefighter helmet courtesy of Mrs. Periwinkle. Neighbors stop by and take photos. Some leave offerings, coins, pebbles, lollipops. He's a local hero now. So is Bertha, immortalized in neighborhood legend and one very detailed Lego sculpture made by Timmy across the street. Now I sit on my porch, breathing easy, iced tea in hand. Concentrator humming beside me. Peaceful. Quiet. The kind of quiet you earn. But sometimes, if the wind's just right, I swear I can still hear Bertha's distant roar, like justice echoing through the suburbs. And I gotta ask, what do you think? Was I out of line, or just finally drawing one? Let me know. I'll be on the porch, me, Bartholomew, and all the fresh air we can breathe.